Hello and welcome to week 5 on the physical science class. Uh, for this week, we are dealing with the Charles law experiment, dealing with thermal energy. And as the experiment shows, you are supposed to measure the temperatures of the hot water and the cold water and see the effect of that on the volume in the syringe. For this assignment, you are supposed to boil the hot water and make sure it is hot enough to give you a good temperature reading for the hot temperature, and then make sure you use enough ice to make sure that the temperature drops very much so you can see the effect on the volume in the syringe as well. So follow the instructions very carefully and make sure you are observing closely the effect of the temperature changes on the volume in the syringe as you do the experiment, because that will give you the accurate readings you need to make the graph that you're supposed to do on the assignment sheet. So quickly going to the assignment answers sheet, the lab worksheet. Once you have all your numbers put in here, pay attention to this area that says you have to insert a graph, which you either drew by your hand or you built or you did from using an Excel sheet. So in this case, I need to see a graph showing how you're able to uh, do question number 3, question number 4, and question number 6. Any assignment that is submitted without showing this graph means that these questions 3, 4, and 6 are automatically 0, because there is no way you can answer those questions without showing the graph. And remember, it says here in your graph you're supposed to extrapolate to make sure that your axis crosses the negative 273 Celsius line. So one of the main point of this tutorial right now is to show you how to make sure that this graph is accurate so that you can answer the questions correctly. So if we can quickly jump into the Excel sheet here, I've already made up some numbers. Remember, these are my numbers, random numbers being in this assignment. So I have my room temperature as 27 degrees, the first temperature of the hot 90, 60 for the cold, -2 and -4, and the volumes are also recorded. Yeah, so quickly, if now I can show you how I did this from the scratch. To get this graph that I need to answer those questions, all I need is to select all the information you have, go to insert, and instead of going to insert a line graph or a pie chart or area chart, go to scatter. If you insert a line graph, you're simply going to get something that looks this way, which makes absolutely no meaning. It won't help you answer those questions. So if your graph is showing something like this, it means you didn't do the graph very well, and there is no way you can answer those questions based on this graph. So I'm going to delete that, and when I select this, I do insert. I have to go to the one that says scatter. Remember, on the scatter you have to choose the one that has just the markers, only markers. Once that is done, you can see the markers showing at different spots. But to be able to extrapolate, remember the question says we need to extrapolate to make sure that our line crosses at least 270 minus 273. So if I go back to my graph now, I need to make sure this axis gives me a range of negative, or that is negative 300 at least, and then maximum 300. So I have to go to format the axis, x-axis, and once you're inside here, choose the fixed option, and the fixed, I want the minimum to be negative 300 and the maximum positive 300. Once you do this, now you now have a wide range of numbers to do the extrapolation. So once I have this, to answer question number 3, because that is the purpose of this tutorial, to show you how to do this calculation, these answers using the graph. It says extrapolate, so all I need to do is to go back here, insert, and this time I choose shape and choose a line, and now I have to draw the best line of fit that can connect to give me an extrapolation that is close to negative 3 Celsius. So if I choose these two lines, these two spots, remember, if you did the assignment correctly, your number is supposed to be, or these dots are supposed to line up pretty close to each other. So let me do this again. So if I try to connect at least these two dots. So correctly done, this line is supposed to go down and extrapolate to this point. In this case, I am seeing roughly at least two of the markers have to connect. Two of the markers have to connect, and you can then read off the degrees, negative degrees here. So any number between negative 300 and negative 250 should be accurate, because there will be errors of measurement as you do this experiment. So any number between negative 300 and negative 250 that is shown accurately on the graph you plotted is acceptable. So going back to these questions again, I've done number 3 by using that ruler to draw a line that best fits through my data points. And why can you assume a straight line? Like I said initially, we are dealing with Charles' law, and Charles' law in this case, if you go back to this assignment page to read, you can get more also from your book. In Charles' law, it shows us that the volume and the temperature are directly proportional. So if one changes, the other one will change. So what it means is the number of the temperature is high, then the volume will be high. If the temperature is low, then the volume will be low. So that is one way to look at that. So if we go back quickly to these questions again, at what temperature does your line intersect the x-axis? Like I said, your graph also answers this question. What volume does it correspond to? If you did that correctly, you can come back here and tell me what temperature this is and what volume this is referring to as well. And then number 6, which also is your measurement or of absolute zero close to the actual value, and what might you do to make sure that you get closer to that number. If you also go back here, you can see from my graph, if I did this correctly, my number is supposed to be very close to 273 degrees Celsius, but in this case it may or may not. But like I said, any number between negative 250 and negative 300 is acceptable for the assignment. But the other questions are based on your observations as you did the experiment. Like in question 1, it says what happened to the volume of the gas when the syringe was submerged. So if you did this carefully, you are supposed to observe some differences in the volume in the syringe when you put in the hot water and also in the cold water. How do you know that pressure is held constant in your experiment? I will refer you to on this question, I will refer you to chapter 19 of the textbook. Read chapter 19 and that will be the pressure that we are talking about here. For number 5, it says what will it be possible to cool a real gas down to zero volume? What will mostly happen first? If you also read chapter 5 of the textbook, you should be able to find the answer to this question. So it's my hope that this will help you to answer this question correctly, especially on the graphing. You have to show the graph so that your answers for question number 3, 4, and 6 can be shown to be accurate. If you have submitted your work, and after watching this video you feel you need to revise it, you can send me an email and I can delete the other one you submitted and have you resubmit the correct format. If you have any questions, as always, send me an email and I'll see you in class. Thank you for listening. Bye bye.